So we're going to talk about Saturn in Pisces, which just started entering Pisces March the 7th. It's going to be there until Valentine's Day in 2026. So this is a major reality shift. And I'm going to talk about the astrology of that. And we're going to do some tarot card readings. And we're going to talk about that because it's going to be a long time, you know.
Good, yeah. So, what's the overall vibe you're getting from it all? Let's can we look at the last card first?
The last card first. You want me to really pick a card and do it like
No,
that?
I mean like in terms of the energy.
Oh, in terms
Like
of the
what do
energy.
you,
Okay.
especially with an ending, just out of curiosity. I mean,
Okay.
if it
Well,
ends
Pisces,
on
okay.
Valentine's Day.
Yes, it ends on Valentine's Day. And, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So, when these, Saturn is considered to be what's called a personal planet, but it's also a generational planet. Saturn rules reality. So wherever Saturn is, that's the reality check. Now, Saturn, the planet of solidity, is moving into the most ephemeral spiritual sign there is. So my biggest take is that reality and spirituality, like physical reality and spiritual reality, will be felt as one. So these boundaries are going to dissolve. So for Saturn rules seniors, it rules respect. Saturn overall rules career. We're moving out of the last 5 years of Saturn ruling its own sign. So now we're in this watery, emotional, feminine, very yin, receptive. The 12th sign and the 12th house are the most hidden. So, like, we're all collectively moving into what's going on in the unconscious. So, dream work, Saturn is karma. So, this is really like karmically finishing what you started 28, 29 years ago, right? To get ready for a new cycle when Saturn and Neptune, the planet that rules Pisces, both enter Aries. This is a big new deal. There's going to be a whole new spiritual movement that comes in 2026, the same as it did 158 years ago when Madame Blavatsky and Theosophy started. That was the foundation of the Golden Dawn, which is the foundation of the Rider-Waite system. And so, yeah, that cycle is going to get completed in the next 3-4 years.
And what was
So
going
that's
on
a big
just
deal.
before they started it? Before this was happening in that year,
Ah,
what was happening?
well, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is the ruler of photography. So there was a whole explosion in being able to capture images. And Pisces is about images, right?
Right.
Photography. So, expanding people's vision of the world. The Mormons, I think, started in the 1850s. I think John Smith got his revelation around that time. So Mormonism was started around that time. I think also Baha'i religion. So there was like new forms of spirituality that were coming in, right? And also the
What was
gold
happen
rush.
what was happening in the world at that time? Not just in
Uh,
terms of spirituality. What were the people doing?
oh, in the world.
What was
Uh,
yeah, was there money making? Was there sad, like what was
well,
going on?
it was the beginning of the gold rush. So like Pisces rules dreams and ephemera, and it rules debt actually. So people rushing to California, going into this unknown territory. I mean, it was also the Trail of Tears. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
happened after that. So it was really the white colonialists, the soldiers moving in to take over the West in America. That was like unknown territory, right? So
Yeah.
it was a big expansion in terms of Europe. I think trying to think what else was happening around that time. Oh yeah, the whole thing about Egypt. I think the whole fascination with Egyptology started really. And remember, everybody had mummies in their living room in
Mhm.
Egypt, and they were eating mummies, and like that was a whole thing. So that occultism, or that sense of the ancient Egyptian spirituality or otherworldliness, kind of came in at that time as well. So it was a
So
big.
could we safely say it was sort of a revision or a revival of old ways, traditions?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
because
could that
Saturn
be
rules
happening
tradition.
again? Old
Yeah.
traditions? I mean, we see some of that stuff happening with, rescinding of the abortion laws, for instance, and
Right.
this type of stuff. We're seeing that happen now. Is that kind of the same? Could that be
Well,
considered same kind of energy? That male
yeah.
chauvinist superiority, colonial thinking that they are all that in a handbag. Do you think that maybe that is what's going to stir up the energy to battle back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
And we
mean,
can call it revolution, or we can call it a war, or we
Okay.
can call it, well, what we can call it is there is a standing up for our beliefs, and a change happens. Would you say that's going to happen?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Pisces is the age of Christianity, so Christ's symbol
Right.
is the fishes, right? So, I mean, no astrologers can kind of agree on when the age of Aquarius starts, but when Pluto is going to enter Aquarius this month as well. But I believe it's like a change in the structure of Christianity or even the end of organized religions because Saturn is organization. So turning in so everybody will have their own imminent connection with spirituality, which is the whole
Right.
point of the tarot.
Right.
So, the dissolving of those old structures and people really understanding what's going on in their own unconscious and also big karmic, the buck stops here. Everybody taking
Right.
responsibility for all the
Yeah.
trauma, and really doing their own inner work to heal their ancestors and really doing that ancestral work super important. So I feel like, it's for people like us who are elders, Saturn rules elders, people who've been doing serious spiritual work for a long time. I believe that, we will get respect for that. And a lot of this new, you know what I mean? Newbie people, they're going to have to wait, they're going to have to kind of learn to get more experience. I think that's
Hmm.
important too.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the thing is, any sign can go both ways. Pisces has two fishes, right? Swimming in two different directions. So,
Exactly.
symbolically, it can be, seniors can get honored, you know what I mean? Your ancestors, honoring the ancestors, but also, oops, are you there,
Sorry,
Tamara?
I had to plug
Okay.
my iPhone in, and
Oh,
it just
okay.
does this little blip blip because I
That's
noticed
okay.
it's lower than I expected. I'm sorry. And hang on a
Okay,
minute. Just
that's
give me
okay.
one second.
That's all right.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, we're back in business.
So on the other hand, it can be like, seniors also ushered away, like, so you don't even see them, you know what I mean? So, we've seen that already happening. So I believe it could go either way. But, Pisces also rules big oils. So it is really the end of big oils, controlling the world, different religions coming up, people really connecting to their own inner spiritual knowledge and people being telepathic. I thought, when the internet first started to come on, or when personal computers first started in the early 90s, I was thinking, why are people using this technology? Why don't they just learn how to be totally telepathic? So I think there's going to be a lot of that, a lot of people practicing. It's becoming more popular now, lucid dreaming and projecting yourself on the wall and all of that kind of thing against the technology. So a direct, real kind of spiritual connection, like call me up on the telepaphone. That was like my tagline. Like we did it this way, right? You thought of it, and I kind of got the message, and I said, "Hey, tomorrow, let's do this sometime soon." And you said, "Oh, great! I just woke up with that idea." And I went, "Yeah, I heard you."
Isn't
So,
that fun?
yeah, it's great. I love it. So there is no, no space, no time, no difference. So I think also people are going to really get a sense of how unbounded it is. And also Pisces rules addiction. So people are really going to have to take responsibility for their addictions of all kinds, whether it's shopaholic or pornography, or, you're addicted to doing a million workshops, or, whatever that is, alcoholism, and really taking stock of that, really being mature. That's Saturn. It's time to kind of grow up spiritually as well. So there's many. Pisces rules art, so kind of new art forms are going to be born, and old styles ending, and so it's just we're in a 2.5 year cycle of bringing things to a close. And so I think it's important, Pisces rules projections, and all Pisces, they need to learn boundaries. And that's what Saturn is going to make them learn. And that's good. That's healthy.
Yeah. But it also affects each of us differently, eh? Each of our
Well, of
signs.
course. Yes,
It
of course.
totally affects us differently, and I think it also, and I mean, it affects all the parts of us.
Right.
So as a, let's say, a Leo, Scorpio, Virgo may be affected in this area, in this area, in this area, and some of that might be something I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, maybe I do want a few more boundaries over here, or
Yeah.
maybe I've been thinking about them. So it's not all
Mhm.
bad.
No, no, it's not bad. It's
Yeah.
good. I mean, and it's also charity. So, Saturn can manifest more charity in the world, more compassion, more
Oh,
forgiveness,
really?
more sense. Oh, yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that's
I mean,
something nice to
Saturn,
look forward to.
yeah, Saturn restricts, but it also is the builder. Saturn is the architect. So if you're gonna have a baby, for example, the spirit, the soul enters into the physical body. That is Saturn. So Saturn, I believe, was the great mother, and of course, patriarchy made him into father time and the devil, and
And I
the
just,
Grim
you
Reaper and
know
all
what?
that.
Like
What's
for real,
that? Yeah.
I just dropped the devil. Then I
Well,
threw it
that's
back in.
Saturn.
I know.
Saturn is the devil.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we had this little talk. I don't believe in there. See, he just showed. He was
Oh,
right there.
right. Okay.
I don't believe in Saturn. I mean, excuse me, Satan. I don't believe in
Satan.
Satan in
Okay.
the way that people have presented him. I don't. And I do believe that we carry the devil within us
Hmm.
because these are our own personal boundaries, right?
Right.
Per se.
Hmm.
These are the
Hmm.
things that we think we cannot live without or that we must live without, whatever they may be. But they are the things that we created as boundaries. Addictions, compulsions, obsessions, this
Hmm.
type of energy. And it's a
Right.
power card, right? So
Hmm.
I see Saturn because it associates itself to that Capricorn vibration as very restrictive and
Right.
limiting
Yeah.
and limiting.
Yeah. Well,
And I want to squirm out from under it.
right. Well, it goes both ways. There's always limits to everything, even though like Pisces is like the unbound. Pisces is like all that is, that. And Saturn says, well, there's got to be a limit. There's got to be a boundary somewhere. But in a way, those limits are all going to disappear, right? And, we're all in physical bodies, but we're not. You see, this is the thing. We know that we're infinite souls and spiritual beings. So that reality, to some people who don't see it that way or don't feel it that way, Pisces is a feeling sign. It's very emotional. It's very moody. You know what I mean? Will
Yeah, I
it,
do.
so it's going to be a big, Pisces is the ocean, right? So also Saturn, very much restriction on seafood, restriction on travel by the ocean. So there can also be big ecological oil tanker disasters like we had before with Exxon with all
There could
that, right?
certainly be, there could
So,
also be some other interesting, unexpected events that could happen near the water.
right. Yeah. So it could be droughts because Saturn limits water. So there could be droughts, right? Like just from that, but also tsunamis. Like Saturn can bring death from water, tsunamis, drownings, you know what I mean? So it works both
I
ways,
know,
right?
and
And
I've
just
I've
kind of
seen
cover.
that too. I've seen some of that energy on its way, and I don't wish to call it in, but I see something happening there. I want to respond to Sharon and Lorraine.
Hmm.
Thank you, by the way, Sharon. I saw your gift. That was kind of you. Thank you. Your happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too. This is my friend Tara Green. For those of you in the room who don't know her, she is a well-known psychic and astrologer in Toronto and all over, not just there, but well known there. She got to one of the number one awards there, I think, one year, if I remember, best psychic
Right. Yeah.
for Toronto. Good for you. That's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think that's
Yeah.
about when I met you. Just to be honest, when I started following you, at least.
Oh, okay.
And,
Right.
and that's when I went, oh, I got to follow her, see how good she is. And she's not so bad. I was glad to meet you. And glad
Yeah.
to have gotten to
Sure.
know you over these years. Thank you so much for coming on the live and sharing. I
Oh, well,
think
thank
that
you.
there's a lot to come and you can help us all.
For sure. Well, that's Pisces, so I'm dedicated to helping people, to be compassionate, to be understanding, to be empathic. That's all Pisces. So, I feel like Saturn is really going to help people to really be empathic, which is really needed now, considering, we've all been forced into this, oppositional phases. You're now going to realize, wait, I'm no different than you and this person and that person. So it can be incredibly beautiful. And my sense is like when I'm talking about it, I'm getting the buzz, like really heart opening, like really, whoa, this gushing of like feelings that have been held back and restricted can suddenly burst forth. You know what I mean? Like a big dam breaking,
Well,
which
this is
can be
why I
literal
asked
as
you.
well.
And do you know what happened before in 150 years ago, before the gold rush? What was going on that forced people to look outside of their communities? So there must have been a drought of some sort, or a
Mhm.
lack of some sort, in that era, in that time, which is what had people moving and thinking about there. And then, they went
Mm,
off and found other lands, and this is where the native people were basically overrun. And the gold, they found
right.
gold, and that was it. They didn't think about, the
No.
consequences. And then once they did think about it, their reaction was quite harmful, to the people.
Right. Well,
So
we got, yeah. I mean, you got to remember this was after, if we're just talking about America, which this is right after the Civil War. So there was a
exactly.
lot of displacement of people,
Yeah.
and things were kind of in turmoil. And, there was obviously, it was hard times. And so people,
So what I'm trying to say
had
is
the
that
lure.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
They had the
It was
lure
a
of the
civil
gold.
war,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, does that have to happen now for all of this
Oh,
stuff
I
we're
see.
talking about? This is where I'm heading. And I have that
Okay.
vibe, that energy. I'm
Okay.
feeling stirrings. I'm
Mm.
not sure how much I can share about what I think and feel, but I think that energy is predominantly the undercurrent right now.
Okay. Well, I would say, we're talking about Saturn and Pisces, but at the same time, we have to talk about Pluto and Aquarius, and that would be more of the undercurrent. Pluto rules the collective unconscious, and it rules big generations. And I would say that revolution is definitely, about to happen any second. You know what I mean? Like it's already
Well, it's
overdue
already
because,
it's already brewing. It's brewing. It's been brewing since the third week in February, and it's like it's
right.
just like this coming up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like I feel it.
Yeah.
And someone I know said to me something today. Why is the shaking in my legs? And I
Mm,
couldn't say.
right.
They
Yeah.
feel the
Because
they
you
feel the instability.
Yeah, yeah.
The
And I know
instability.
people want a form of stability, but I'm afraid no, you're going to have to get used to kind of like riding those waves. You know what I mean? Like a
Right?
top surfer, and be really alert to every little nuance and be able to move and adjust, as things are going through these major, major changes. It's a pretty critical time, I would say, in the history of humanity. I'm really feeling
Yeah.
that. It's like and also I have to say that Pluto at the very last degree of Capricorn right now. And Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So even though Saturn is moving out of being in its own signs traditionally for the last 5 years, Pluto's just ending for the next 21 years, Saturn ruled territory. So that's really interesting. Now, the last time, Pluto was in Aquarius, it was the beginning of the American and the French revolutions, right? So that's what that's ushering in. Astrology is all about studying long-term cycles, and they repeat on higher levels, but it's the same kind of patterns,
Hmm.
step in.
Which is what I'm referring to. Which is why I asked about what you thought of this and what was happening. And that was a civil war.
Hmm.
So is and what's going to
Hmm.
stir us up to do it again? And it's already happening.
Well,
Look what's happening
yeah, it's already
around us.
happening.
It's happening. People
Yeah,
are near
yeah,
their wits' end. Something has to snap in
yeah,
some way, and that always
right,
pushes change. An
right,
opportunity to make things better, which is what I think that spiritual thing you're talking about is definitely energetically going to happen, because it's going to,
yeah,
even if you think about what happened when COVID hit, a lot of people turned to their spiritual beliefs,
yeah,
only to find out then what happened with, all the children being found in the residential
mhm,
yards, and then it finally becoming
mhm,
really well known, as opposed to just the native people trying to say it. Nobody's listening. Now we're all listening
right,
finally. you know
hmm,
Still some more
hmm,
shakeup has to happen there, but the point is, like, we're realizing where we're really at and where we need to
yeah,
go. So is it the
yeah.
negativity that forces us along? I think so.
Yeah, usually people, have to learn through pain. My one of my spiritual teachers used to say, you can learn from pain or you can learn through pleasure, but most humans don't learn to learn through pleasure. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always uncomfortable when we're in these excuse me, like in between or liminal zones of, and Saturn is tradition. So, you can see the Saturnine patriarchy wanting to hold on, wanting to keep control. I mean, that's also Pluto. Pluto is like the plutocrats, the big world controllers. It's again, that is very dangerous because Aquarius is a dual sign again. So it is one of the few humanitarian signs, like it's a human being, like the water bearer, either it's a goddess or the guy who actually poured the water in the Roman baths. It's human, and so we're in this kind of balance between transhumanism and humanity. So the technology, the invention, the pioneering, that's what Aquarius is all about. We're either going to be, we have to control that technology and remain human or become like machines, or, you want to beam your consciousness up into the cloud, or, all of that stuff. People want to be robots and think they're going to be infinite and all that stuff, like that's very dangerous, like bionic humans and all that stuff, right? I mean, there's technology can be used to serve people for sure, like in terms of diseases and whatever. But, the idea of is it benevolent, I think is the big question to ask, is this good for everybody or not, in the long
I don't
run?
think Saturn
That's
is
history.
I don't think Saturn is good for everyone. I think Saturn is harsh.
Oh, Saturn is hard.
Harsh.
Saturn is the taskmaster, father time. It can't. So either then, as people get more spiritual, are they going to put limits on it? Are they going to say, no, you can't practice this, or we're going to take away all your herbal medicine or alternative remedies or crystals or whatever it is? You want books, Saturn is books. Are they going to ban all those spiritual books so you won't be able to get that historical knowledge anymore? That's pretty lockdown. The 12th house is mental institutions and mental illness, and also the whole thing about psychedelics being controlled by the government. They've started that already in Canada. They're using ayahuasca to treat criminals, or and thinking that they're going to
Oh, really?
rehabilitate them, right?
Hey,
Yeah, they
folks,
started this in,
can you tap that screen for me, everyone? Would you mind? Tap the screen if you have a telephone,
okay.
please.
Whoop,
Not, oh, we lost you there,
whoop,
girlfriend.
sorry.
There you are.
Okay, I'm here. Okay.
Yeah. Part of the tapping the screen is to keep us in the algorithm. Be very helpful. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Saturn restricts. Yes, it does. Teacher. Me and Saturn tussle. Yeah, me too, Carol. Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
And I have seen some of your comments, but it's been not a good time to answer them. Sorry for that, folks. You'll just have to go with the flow for us. My ADHD can only handle the best part of the conversation, which is Tara Green. So I'm
Okay.
listening to what you have to say. I love learning and incorporating what I feel
Hmm.
into, I find a lot of comfort in justifying my feelings, Tara.
Hmm.
When you
Right.
share things about things that I'm feeling, it makes
Right.
good sense to me because I
Mhm.
feel these things happening. And what do
Right.
and many of us are psychics. And,
Right.
what do we do? A young lady in here said, I'm scared already. I think it was Carol,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it is a little shocking. And Saturn shocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
Saturn is the patriarchy,
Yeah.
and it's fathers and fatherhood. So, I mean, in another way of interpreting the same thing, because it can be, just like a tarot card, it can be restrictions on fathering, like literally the sperm levels have been going down in the world. And do you know what I mean? Like that kind of energy, or jailing. Saturn is jails. Pisces is jails, jailing those old guys. That's the other thing, for betraying people's trust, for being soulless, or what I mean. It can go a number of ways, right? Also, Saturn in Pisces is very creative for a lot of people. Pisces rules actors and musicians. I believe that sound healing and alternative healing is going to become really big. Now they may want to restrict that or try to restrict it,
There's a
but
lot. There's a lot of illusion and
I don't think
delusion.
they really can.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of that. The darker
So
part of
Saturn kind of,
Pisces.
yeah. Well, I think Saturn is good because Saturn is going to burst those false bubbles that people have about the soulmates and the big illusion
Right.
and projections and false gurus. That's Pisces. and worshiping glamour reality stars. Forget it. That's over. The Kardashians are done. I see already they're taking down Kylie Jenner. Like, people won't worship that kind of fake glamour anymore.
And I
So
think
I
I think
think
that's
that's,
true. So those are the things that'll get carved out. But I also think,
yeah, yeah.
and not think, what I feel is that
Hmm.
Catholicism will be called out, and there will be some changes
Yeah,
made to that religion
yeah.
and its ability to function. There will
To
be some
fool
changes.
people. Oh
And
yeah,
that
for
will be a
sure. I
good
mean, I,
change if you ask me and many. But
yeah.
I wanna stress, although I'm mentioning this at this moment, I also want to say I have a lot of empathy for those people who are following Catholic belief systems from their a
Hmm.
good place, and what we're
Right.
getting peace and some sort of feeling of love and spirituality. Those people
Right.
who were doing good didn't see this
Hmm.
coming. Those people,
Right.
they're mourning. They're
Hmm.
sad about what they've learned about the place
Hmm.
that they went to heal. And they're
Right.
finding this out because they didn't know. We didn't know. Many didn't know, right? So
Right.
there's going to be some interesting spiritual beliefs, I think, that will be developing, and a lot of people will follow more their
Hmm.
inner, and
Yeah.
what New Age paganism has been talking about is
Hmm.
listening to your own self, right?
Right.
That you
Exactly.
have the
So,
power.
right. So it's very interesting that you're mentioning this, because when I was in Mexico just now, I was in San Miguel de Allende, and there was a huge indigenous celebration that went on like a week ago, and there was hundreds of these. Oh my God, they had the most beautiful costumes and the maca feathers. It was very like Aztec. They're called concho dancers and drummers. It was very pagan, but they celebrated this miracle that they accepted Jesus as part of their gods. Now it was still very pagan. They still did the dance with
Mhm.
the bull, and there was the fool. It was real interesting. They were acting out all the different characters in the tarot. There was the fool and the empress and the
Oh,
devil, and it was
oh,
fabulous. I'll put up some of those videos because it was amazing. And I had a friend of mine who's actually an indigenous Hispanic tarot reader who I met there, and he's bringing the indigenous Mexican and South American into the tarot, which is really interesting to me.
love it.
But, they believe, they still have their own innate paganism. It's in there. And, they believe in Christ or Mary or, the Virgin of Guadalupe. I went to her shrine as well, which was really beautiful in Mexico City. So, that's still the goddess in essence. But I think what people are going to realize is they're going to have to, you can keep the beautiful teachings of Christianity and Jesus, which is all about love and compassion. That's Pisces. That's what Christianity is. So the essence of it is what people are going to live. They won't
This is
need,
another way to see Jesus. You can
yeah,
see Jesus looking like this too.
as the magician, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And the
absolutely.
fool.
And the fool. Yeah.
And you can see his wife, Mary Magdalene.
Yep. Yes. And you can see him as the hangman,
There you
right?
go.
As the hangman,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So, it's all there. So I just think people will learn not to give their authority out to outside structures. I think
Hmm.
that might be a little hard for people. It is a kind of maturing. It's like, as a
Hmm.
child, when you grow up, you realize, well, I don't project, you can still respect your
Hmm.
father, your parents, and whatever, but you have
Yeah.
to grow up and become your own adult, so it is a kind of growing up in terms of the collective as well.
That's a nice way to look at it, Tara. So we can assume, so to speak, that people will take more responsibility for what they believe in instead of just
Yeah.
saying, "Well, she believes in that, so I'm gonna."
Right.
They're gonna question really and follow
Yeah.
really what it is they truly believe.
Right.
And do you think that we'll have a lot more? Because I worry about this one. Sorry, I don't mean to be a worry wart, but when Saturn worries me a little bit. I think is the
Okay.
truth of it, and it's because I know it means hard lessons for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's going to be some
Well, I
hardship
think,
for people who haven't been
right.
following a conscious life, to be honest, and there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
So that means a lot of
Yeah.
people are going to be hurting and feeling pretty awkward getting into these new tight pants.
Well, I think also the thing is Pisces is denial.
Right.
And So there are going to be a lot of people into the spiritual bypass, and they don't want to believe what the truth is that's coming
Right?
out, and they're gonna run and hide, and they're going to put their heads further into the sand and drug themselves, and you know what I mean. I don't want to know what's
Yeah.
going on. So there's going to
I've
be
been
a lot of
thinking
that
that. I'm hoping
too.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But I
Hmm.
think it will in certain areas. And it might be poverty that pushes it, or just
Hmm.
lack of hope,
Right.
or the
Yeah.
simple fact that many of our cities are not responding to homelessness and mental
Right.
health on the streets. I mean, this is, and maybe, that could be part of our jobs, is trying to push some of those wagons uphill and get them stirred, and the government do something about it.
Well, it's interesting as we're talking tomorrow because I'm connecting with you. I saw this vision. It's really beautiful, actually, of the collective, because Pisces is the collective. People coming to like sing together, to send
Yeah.
vibrational healing to people and really up level. So we're going to communally, because we're all one. So the more of us that tune in to, I mean, it sounds new agey, but it's true. Raise the vibration, to help people, compassion, charity, helping people out who can't deal with it, like the people who are more practiced and seasoned who go, yeah, hey, no problem. We know how to deal with this. We're the professionals in a
Yeah.
way. We'll help
Yeah.
you all out. So, and I think there will be a lot of compassion because people have been too separated, and suddenly they're going to realize, oh, I can't project all my hatred onto whatever Republicans or Democrats or, you know what I mean, this
Well,
or
because
that.
they're all the same, just different sides of the same coin,
Right.
the coin, the
Yeah.
vibration. So I think I'm hoping that the Saturn energy allows for, um, I mean, we need to be in unity, but at the same time, we are not all the same. And
Right.
we need to find a way to be okay with that,
Well,
you know?
I think that's where Pluto and Aquarius comes in because Aquarius is about being your own unique person and marching to your own drummer and finding that sense of who you are, and that everyone in the collective also has the right to do that, and no one has authority
Yes.
or power over
Right.
anyone else. So I
Right.
think so to me, this is like really beautiful, like what's starting now this month, really ushering a whole, Pluto's going to be in Aquarius till 2044. Like the world's going to be a different place in 2044. That's a whole generation, 20, 21 years, right? So imagine the kids that are being born right now, because every generation is born wired into that new future, right?
Right. Hmm.
Just like the kids who were born, in the mid 90s are totally wired to the internet. Their brains are set to work in this really fast, processing all kinds of things really fast. So I think, when you think about these two planets and how major they are, and it is a big generational change, I mean, yeah, I feel like it will be a big revolution. It has to be the people's revolution. It's really critical, you know.
And so, what would you say we will revolt against in general? What would you name it? What three words would come to your mind?
Well, the plutocrats,
Right?
yeah, the plutocrats, uh, you know, um, wealth, a big change in the wealth. Pluto rules the soul. So, what really matters is soul wealth, not material wealth. And Saturn rules the material world. That's where he's the devil, and that's where you get caught selling your soul to the devil. I mean, it's a metaphor, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
you know
Yeah.
so I would say that, and also that sense of people discovering their own uniqueness, like you're an individual, you have the right to think the way you want, and we accept that, and everybody's got their own uniqueness. I think that's something, rather than this industrial revolution education that's been going on since the late 1800s. That's when that public school kind of system came in to educate people to work in factories. Like that's going to be changed. So I think everybody's going to define themselves in a way, but with the collective, like it, it's kind of hive mind, but in a positive way. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like everybody
do.
will feel they're
I
part
think
of something
it's
bigger.
sort of be like maybe trying out respect for a change and giving it to everybody. And everybody gets a piece
Hmm.
of respect. It's a pie piece everybody gets. So we allow
Right.
ourselves to be, acknowledging them many different ways. And as long as they do not affect us in any kind of, harmful way, then we allow it. If it
Right.
harms us in
Right.
some way, though, I could see Saturn energy coming in and drawing hard lines.
Yeah. Yeah. And Aquarius is a fixed, what they call a fixed sign, and it's an air
Yeah,
sign. So you can remember it's detached,
yeah,
right? So there is that kind of technology, detachment, discernment. It's kind of like what, Buddhism teaches. It's not like emotions are bad. It's just that the emotions can control you. So you
yeah.
have to learn to discipline them. And Saturn is discipline, right? So
Yep, yep.
learning to be disciplined in your spiritual work and your approach in everything, because it affects everything, the way you do everything, your work, how you speak, how you talk, everything,
Having
which I
pride
think
in
is,
what we're doing what we do well.
yeah,
No, no
yeah,
mediocrity.
yeah. No more passing the
There's no
buck
more
off.
room. Yeah, no
Right.
more
You
room for
have to take
mediocrity.
responsibility. Right. You have to take responsibility for everything you do, which is the world card in the tarot, right?
Right,
That's Saturn. Okay, that's the
right.
world card. The other thing about Aquarius is, it's the star in the tarot, right? So a lot of people are talking about ET contact. So I really think if it gets too critical, honest to God, the ETs are going to step in and go, they're going to blow the whistle and go, okay, enough of this. We don't care anymore. You have to
Oh, I
stop
love it.
acting like big babies here, and you can't destroy this beautiful planet. We won't let you. So that's my big feeling about that too, that somehow that can
Oh, I
happen
love it,
too.
Tara. That was beautiful. I love it. You know what? That's a nice way to look at it. That's a save the day kind of. I love that positive. I don't see it as, overly spiritually positive either. I see it as a nice, you know what? So in the native way, we think that the star child, the star child energy of the star nation has made us all that in
Mhm.
some way. We came here from the star nation,
Oh yeah,
right? And so, what does that mean? We could say it in different ways. Is it an alien? Is
you
it
could say it that
spiritual? Is it
way.
ancestral? What is it?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure there's different ways to understand it. From different perspectives, you're going to see the same kind of thing in different ways,
right, for sure. And that's kind
right?
of Aquarius, that you can have your own individual way of seeing it, and that's
Yeah.
fine. You know,
And
yeah,
still somehow getting to the same end of story. Still
right.
somehow becoming still reverence, giving reverence to a certain way. So I mean, I think that reverence and respecting other people is something that's going to come out of all of this. But I do see a shaking up of that first.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think enough people are waking up more, but they're not awake enough. And,
Mhm.
you know, I remember, Pluto, the whole thing about Pluto is because it rules big generations is like, Pluto will always come along and destroy, whatever it needs to in your life personally, because I believe it is a very powerful personal planet. So if you know that Pluto is going to come along and hit you, like everybody who's born the first day of Aquarius, Pluto's coming to visit you. It's going to hit your sun, over the next year and a half or so. So this is a big wake up call. So if you know that, then you want to work with that energy. And that way it doesn't feel as destructive. You know what I mean? You just know, okay, I got to kind of throw out everything I've been doing before and reinvent myself and really step up to being this new thought leader. That's Aquarius, the new ideas, the higher consciousness. Aquarius is higher consciousness. So it's not on that petty, like Saturn would be kind of like the petty in a way. It's mine, mine,
Athena,
mine. You know what
Athena,
I
I
mean?
agree with you.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Athena, I agree with you. We do not think that
Okay.
people are awake. We are thinking that Saturn's come to awaken the people.
Hmm.
So, you know, that is where we're at. And there
Right.
are many fears and lack of in our community. 100%, Athena. 100%. We're hoping that the energy of Saturn will come to restrict that kind of thing, and more spirituality will come of the energies that Saturn leaves in its shock, because it will come in and make some serious changes, and we're hoping that that vibration will shift the energy. And Pluto in Aquarius is the icing on the cake, right, Tara?
Well, I think Pluto in Aquarius, for me, Pluto is the most important planet. You got to think back about what Pluto does. So when Pluto entered Capricorn in late 2008, that was the world banking mortgage fallout crisis. Okay. And Pluto's, spent all these years since 2008 moving through Capricorn. It's at the last degree right now. It's just going to barely enter Aquarius and sit at 0 degrees until June 2023, and then it's going to go back. So when it's at the last degree, I believe it's the most powerful. So if anything, I'm seeing, the world banking financial thing happen. They're going to try to put in digital currencies. There is big shakeups coming. I just said this earlier to my husband. It's starting this month. And then Pluto and Aquarius will bring in this whole new age, and so it is the people's revolution, and the souls of the people have to wake up, you know, and it is this two-level thing, it's like, do we do everything for the collective? You're not alone. So, I believe that what people are going to feel with Saturn and Pisces is like, your shoes that are born from slave labor and some kid in China, you won't be able to wear those shoes anymore because you're going to feel the sweat of that kid who made those shoes that you paid $200 for. And you're going to go, no, this has no real value. This is made on the back of slavery. So I believe that this is a good thing because Saturn is going to show the reality of that. Like, we're all one. And so you can't isolate anything or anyone or any action from the collective, you know? I mean, it's like,
And
again, like
so,
the metaphor,
and
like the
Pluto,
bees. Yeah.
I'm
So I
sorry.
think, yeah, I think Pluto is really going to help to do that because it's the soul of the collective that matters. So they're in kind of a nice resonance. Again, Saturn rules Aquarius. So while Saturn is in Pisces, that's a whole other interesting track. While Saturn is in Pisces, it's really ushering in this new spiritual age for the next 2.5 years. And then Saturn and Neptune are going to enter Aries. That's super important, and usher in a new spiritual age. So if
Right.
you go by that, I haven't even started to write about that, but like every 2.5 years of that 20-year Pluto cycle shifts the energy, shifts where it's filtering from,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. So with Pluto being attached mostly to taxes, money, taxes,
Right.
death, sex, well, that's very interesting, because we'll also be thinking, thank you so much. Hey, Adrian, thank you. Is that Adrian from the British Isles? Are you up late? And welcome here. That's nice. That's nice, Adrian. Thank you. That was for you, Tara, those hearts.
Oh, thank you. I'm kind of
Yeah,
new to this, so I don't know how this works, but thank you. It's very kind of you.
yeah, just so you know, that was a
Okay.
gift to you.
Oh,
Isn't
thank
that
you so
nice?
much. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's very nice. So I guess what I'm saying here is the sex thing too. I'm hoping I bring this
Okay.
up because it's one of the things I'd like to see happen, and I think it might. What it feels like to me is that this vibration will enable us to put our finger and trigger and pull that trigger at who is responsible for what's happening with the MMIW.
Oh, you mean the
Missing and murdered Indigenous women and
okay.
children, and that whole
Right.
thing.
Okay.
I've got a feeling that there's going to be some energy attached. We're going to find out about that, and
Okay.
there will be some calling out in regards to the Catholic Church and the sexual scandals with all of that.
Right.
And then finally, I think we're going to catch a couple of really popular and known elites for their act in inappropriate sexual conduct.
Right. Yeah. Well, Saturn is the cosmic cop, actually, and he's the tax man, so he makes you pay. And, Pluto and Aquarius is also about that too. So, abuse of power. Also, the monarchy is going to be ending because Aquarius is the opposite of Leo, which is the sign of royals and the sign of that kind of hierarchical structure. So that's another symbol that Pluto is going to just take that all down, you know. So whether I never even saw King Charles ever be on the throne, so it's kind of interesting. I don't think he's going to last very long if he even makes it, but
So
the royals are over anyway.
you think there's a slow unraveling of the monarchy, or fast,
Absolutely.
or fast?
I think it's going to happen fast. I mean, it's predicted to end because of an eclipse cycle based on when Prince William, they're all born on eclipses, or Prince Charles married Diana on an eclipse, and she died on an eclipse, and Prince William was born on an eclipse, and that's the end of a 1,000-year cycle from when England began. So that happens in about 2033 or something like that. It's about 10 years away, but not that long away.
2033?
Something like that. 2032, 2033 off the top of my head. Yeah.
Oh, I just got goose pimples. Must be true.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
got
Okay.
shivers everywhere. Shivers everywhere, honestly. I haven't felt
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that'd be a truth. I believe
Okay.
that'd be true. It's
Yeah.
Adrian from Australia. Sorry, dear. That's right. That's right. Nice to meet you again here and on our page. This is my friend Tara. He says the heart was for both of us.
Oh, thank you.
That was
That's
nice.
so sweet. Yeah, so
Yeah,
catching those perpetrators, yes, and also money laundering. Pluto is ruler of Scorpio, money laundering, sex, all the pornography, all the child slave trafficking, all of that stuff.
exactly.
Hopefully, that those people get to pay their karmic debts. Like you
Yeah,
can't do that kind of thing. And I think that's the good thing about Saturn and Pisces, is about deception and denial and addictions and also the whole drug industry. Pisces is big pharma. They're going to have to pay their dues.
hmm hmm hmm
Right. So to me, I've always honored Saturn. My husband is a triple Capricorn, and
so you've
Sun.
had lots of time to love it.
Yeah, so Capricorn, Saturn is jewel is a blue sapphire. That's what's on my wedding ring. You would do honorings. Don't be afraid of Saturn. If you work with Saturn, traditionally in like Vedic astrology, you would work with the planets and you ask them to help you. So even if you have quote unquote bad karma in your astrology chart, you can still make amends and pay homage. And every Saturday, which is Saturn's day, you would eat black food because Saturn's color is black. So that could be like, black rice or black beans or anything like that. And you set some food out to Saturn and you listen to his mantras.
Oh, I
He's
love you
called
for the I
Sati
love you for the
in Vedic
reminder. Thank you.
astrology. So you would just say, thank you, Saturn. We bow down to you. We honor you, and, whatever I can do to help you bring some new spiritual structure into my life or help me to reveal whatever I'm still unconscious of or help me out of, some restriction. Saturn is helpful.
Well, I can
There
tell
should
you
be this
something.
image of the positive.
I'm going
What's
to tell
that?
you something so you understand just a little tiny bit.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. I think I have an issue with Saturn and restriction,
Okay.
and it does stem back from my father tying me up when I was a little girl, which was wrong.
Uh, right.
And
Okay.
I know I have some issues with claustrophobia, some issues with being contained. It's probably what spurred me on to be more pagan as I am too, though, to be honest. So there's good in
Right.
that as well.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, so I think I have an issue with Saturn.
Well, that makes sense. And I think, I believe tomorrow that there was like millions of women and mainly women and children and men that were burned and tortured at the stake. And we've all come back now to kind of reclaim our power. And so I think also Saturn and Pisces is going to be about doing a lot of past life clearing. So
Yeah.
we're not limited by what happened to us in the past in the present. And that's going to be really super important for everybody to do that work.
Mm.
So you want to be fully
Yeah.
present in the now.
Well, that's a good. I'm glad I brought it up. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
usually bring up my stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it felt like the right time, and it looks like
Hmm.
Carol's on the same page as me. Yeah, maybe it's our turn to, really
Yeah.
find a way to let that go or find a way to
Yeah.
come to terms with it. You know, yeah, that might be what is coming from. Maybe the Saturn situation will help us, with
Yeah.
Saturn
I
and
mean,
Pisces.
yeah, sometimes you need the restrictions to get to the freedom. You know what I mean? Like you can't have one without the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I do past life regression, and actually, I when I was away, I met someone who had a whole different type of past life regression, and I did a session with him. It was real interesting. So I understand he was really actually. And I'm going to incorporate this because I thought it was a really good thing, like really rewriting that past, like you would do with dream work, which is also something that people are going to be doing seriously, is dream healing. So the ancient
right?
Healing in dream temples, which is Chiron, is also going to come back. And so in the ancient times, if you were ill, you would go to these dream temples, and there are still ruins of them all over Greece. And you would be given probably psychedelic plants or mushrooms, and you would stay fasting and being given herbs in this dream temple
Mhm.
until you had the healing dream. And then that was it. You went out and you were
Mhm.
fine. And that's how they healed people. So it was very shamanic, very plant, very earth based. But you were the one who healed
Yeah.
yourself. It was your own connection to the psyche or the dream world or whatever, or the gods, they would call it, gods and goddesses or planets, that
Mhm.
healed you, right? So I think that's also something that's going to be used for people to heal themselves. So yeah, I think you can rewrite any of that past life karma. You do not have to carry it into the present or into the future. And that's real freedom. And that's what Aquarius is all about. Pluto in Aquarius is freedom, mental freedom. It's the mind, freeing your mind,
Yeah.
opening it up to the big picture,
Yeah.
like really that star energy, which, I like it in this, I use the Thoth Tarot, and I usually encourage people to take the stances of the cards. So in this deck, the star woman, um, or sky woman, you could call her even, she has her left hand up and she's reaching up to the cosmos, and then she's bringing that cosmic energy down through her heart chakra and pouring it down to the earth. And consciousness was like water, so there's a bit of a kind of mix up about that, but consciousness was like water was consciousness,
Well,
so in a
in
way
the
Saturn
in the
is,
Rider-Waite deck,
yeah, yeah,
there's the water. We see it
yeah,
clearly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, she's pouring down the stars, the water from the stars, or the consciousness from the stars into the waters of the earth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
hoping that spreads out to humanity,
mhm,
right?
right,
So,
yeah.
and with all of the energy you were speaking of about the water vibration as well, you were saying, with that Saturn
Mm.
energy and water. Isn't Saturn more of an earthy energy? And when we put it with the water, we can sometimes get mud.
Yes, that's true. I mean, again, because Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, it rules the traditional rulerships of planets was way more balanced because they each had a masculine and feminine, or outer and inner sign. So in a way, Saturn can be both earth and air. So of the physical and of the mental, it's
Mhm.
just filtering through Pisces right now. Yeah,
But
so there
when we
can be
mix that
real.
air, when we mix that vibration in with water, I almost see like a chainsaw going into water. See the water
Mhm.
going everywhere, and
Yeah,
healing coming from all kinds of directions, and not seeing it even, and being blinded by the emotion, by the water, by the vibrations, being having a kind of.
right.
I see
Oh,
this. I
interesting.
mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but I saw like a
Hmm.
chainsaw in water.
That's interesting. Well, definitely the chainsaw in water is kind of like a tsunami actually image to me. You know what I mean?
I
Or like
know.
or actually like a dividing of the sea. It reminds me of Moses, kind of like splitting of
Mhm.
the Red Sea or something. Um, yeah, because there is going to be restrictions on water for sure. There will be
Yeah.
water rationing. Big corporations trying to, if they don't already control the water supply, because it's basically all civilizations end that can't manage water. Water is the primal thing.
Well,
So
I
really,
see a lot of energy of water moving and
mhm,
dividing and splattering,
mhm,
and I know
mhm,
water is going to be a big thing, huge thing, and I see it,
mhm.
but I don't
Yeah,
see it all in a gentle way, which is where the chainsaw
right.
energy is coming from. There's
Mhm,
some harsh vibrations in there that I see, that I feel, that
mhm,
I've dreamt. I'm not exactly sure how they all pan out in real life, but I see it.
right. Well,
You
yeah,
know.
for sure. I mean, and I think Aquarius is kind of a migratory sign, so I think that people will be traveling more, and definitely like when you were living as nomads, you follow where
Hmm.
the water is, like the Anasazi, beautiful in Chaco Canyon there. Their civilization ended. They had a big drought, and that was it. And they had to move on, and it happened to many civilizations, right? So it's kind of a critical thing right now to be somewhere where you have access to fresh water.
isn't it?
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
well.
Well, that's good.
We have our own well.
Yeah.
It seems I've had my own well wherever I've lived for the last 25 years anyway, something like that.
Yeah. Well, that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So listen, why don't we? I think we've talked about all kinds of fun things here that people
Okay.
have sort of felt it out. And yeah, there's going to be
Okay.
unpredictable stuff. I'm sure we said some little gems along the way. How about we look at our tarot cards, and in light of the
Okay.
Saturn Pisces, Pluto Aquarius vibration. And when is Pluto Aquarius coming
Okay.
in?
It starts March 23rd.
Thank you.
Like this month is a huge month, so
Right,
big shifts.
right. So we know lots of changes coming. Some things will be ready for, other things will be shocks.